All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Resilient Northeastern New Jersey City Community Meeting. We're really excited to have everyone here tonight. My name is Lindsay Sigmund from Jersey City's Division of City Planning. You're also joined by other members of the project team who will introduce themselves shortly. Before we get started, just a quick note on translation services tonight. For American Sign Language interpretation, please pin the interpreter or other speakers at will. If you have issues finding the ASL interpreters, please chat Resilient New Jersey. If you do not see closed captioning and would like to, please opt in by clicking closed captioning on the screen. Megan from our project team is going to drop in the chat instructions for folks who reach the Spanish translation. And we'll be pausing intermittently to switch translators. So thank you in advance for your patience as we switch folks out throughout. As everyone gets settled in, please take a moment to update your name on Zoom by hovering over your name in the participant window, clicking more, and then clicking rename. Please provide your name if desired, and if desired, your neighborhood so we know where you're from. And if you're watching over live stream and want to engage directly in the meeting, please go to our website linked on the screen here. So that is the tinyurl.com/NENJ-JC-meeting. And please let us know in the chat, how'd you hear about the meeting tonight? And if you're viewing on live stream and you want to join the breakout groups that we'll be moving into later on, please go to the link on this slide. And we'll be sharing the link multiple times as we go throughout. Now, to get started, just some quick housekeeping items to take care of. To ensure that we limit background noise, we ask that everyone remain on mute when not speaking. And if you've joined us by dialing in, you can mute and unmute yourself by dialing *6. Once we go into the breakout rooms, you can mute and unmute freely. All right. So how will today's meeting work? The meeting today is going to happen in two parts. First, a short upfront presentation that should take about 30 minutes, and then breakout rooms where we'll take a deep dive into some of the solutions being explored for the plan. Throughout this upfront presentation, you can feel free to ask questions in the chat, and our team will make an effort to respond to the questions either directly or before we go into the breakouts. And this meeting is being recorded and live streamed to Facebook. We're going to post the recordings to YouTube and our website in Spanish and English. This live stream is in English. We'll also share later how you can continue to share feedback outside of these meetings. So what is this meeting all about? Resilient Northeastern New Jersey is a partnership between Jersey City, Hoboken, Newark, Bayonne, Hudson County, and the community-based organizations of Ironbound Community Corporation in Newark and Hope's Community Assistance Partnership to develop a regional action plan to address flood risk. We're going to be looking at other hazards too, based on feedback we've gotten, but I'll say more about that in just a bit. Representatives of those entities I just listed sit on the project steering committee, who meets weekly to guide the progress of the project. And the project is funded and administered through the State Department of Environmental Protection, and further guided by a Community Advisory Council, or CAC, that is comprised of a group of residents from each municipality, some of whom may be here tonight. The CAC meets formally quarterly with collaboration in between and are a paid part of the project team. And our consultant support consists of a great interdisciplinary team of engineers, scientists, technology developers, and planners from the organizations listed on the bottom, and you'll get to meet them during our breakout sessions. Additionally, we actively reach out to and integrate input from community-based organizations, local, state, and federal agencies that can affect flood risk in the region, plus input and decision support from community members like yourselves. So the agenda for today, overall, we want to get your input on solutions or actions that we're evaluating for our regional resilience action plan. If you joined our most recent meeting in February, a lot of this is going to look similar to you. But today is the first community meeting where we're focused solely on Jersey City. And today we're going to share what we've been up to, where we're at in the project. And we also want to share with you how your feedback has directly changed our approach to the project thus far. We're going to look at maps from flood models have been completed that had been mentioned at previous meetings, though our next region-wide meeting later this spring will provide the results of the quantitative risk assessment that we're undergoing. The solutions that we're going to share with you are very much a work in progress. They're options, they're not the final plan. Today, we want to check in and show you where we're at before we go too far and have you let us know, are we on the right track? Asking questions like that, like what do you want to make sure is integrated moving forward? What questions do you have for us? And we'll make sure you know how to access the 2 breakout rooms. Once we get there, we'll be divided across the city by areas, either closer to the Hackensack, and the other breakout room will be focused on areas of the city closer to the Hudson River. So I want to take this moment to introduce some folks who have been involved with the project. Like I said earlier, my name is Lindsay Sigmund with Jersey City's Division of City Planning. I'm on the steering committee. We also have Carolina Ramos from the Office of Sustainability. If you wouldn't mind introducing yourself, Carolina.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Carolina Ramos, Sustainability Coordinator with the City of Jersey City. Thank you.
Thank you for joining. And I think we have Rich Haydes from MUA on the line. Rich, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. Rich Haydes, Jersey City MUA.
Great. Thank you for joining. And Rich is going to provide an update on the long-term control plan shortly. And I think we have Meg Cavanaugh from DEP on the line.
Yep. Hi, everyone. I'm Meg Cavanaugh. I'm a planner with NJDEP's Bureau of Climate Resilience Planning.
Thank you so much for joining. And Carly, do we have anyone else on the line that we should introduce?
I think that's just looking at the list here. I think that's it. But if we missed you, please speak up.
All right. And like I said, you'll get to meet all of our wonderful consultants when we get to the breakout sessions. So a quick snapshot of where we've been and where we're going with this project. The project kicked off last spring. We've developed and published for comment a report about the context within we're working called Our Region Report, which is still open for public comment. Also in October, we published our draft vision and priorities report, also open for public comment on the website. Based on the feedback we received through the spring, summer, and early fall, that's what that vision and priorities report is comprised of. And Megan just dropped the link in the chat. And for the future, we're aiming to have the action plan late spring for your review. A unique piece of this program is the arrow at the bottom we call phase 2 or implementation. The best way to plan always is on your feet. So as things float to the top through this planning process, we've been addressing them right away. So there's other things that we've been working on in parallel to build resilience while we continue to learn about the needs, which we'll talk about. So what has our engagement process looked like so far? This is just a quick overview of the engagement we've completed to date that helped produce the vision and priorities report and taking us to where we currently sit with the scenarios, which will be the focus of the breakouts today. This is just one slide, so it doesn't include everything, just a high-level overview. Most of the materials we've developed to date are translated into Spanish, and we're waiting on the vision report to be translated. We also have flyers, a public survey, and sheets translated into 10 languages that were prioritized for this region, which of course we know is incredibly diverse. And that's what makes our region so special. We had 4 region-wide community meetings and have leveraged feedback from other community forums that the different cities have held. We hold small group and interview meetings with utilities, infrastructure providers, and others most weeks, other stakeholders, and have collected a lot of information through social media, surveys, and emails that have been sent to the project team. And as much as we're doing to try to get the word out, we can always do more. We've already made some shifts based on feedback we received, which I'm going to be sharing in a moment. And if you have ideas for how we can increase or improve our engagement, please let us know in the chat. As we like to say, we bring the toolbox, but this is your house. This is your city. On top of meetings, there are ways for you to stay engaged with the project, and you can always contact our team with the email address on this page, our hotline, or through social media. So next, how are we doing with the translators? Do we need to switch or are we good?
We have about 4 minutes.
Okay. So we've been, like I mentioned, we've been striving to adapt to your feedback as the project has progressed. So I'm going to talk about some ways that we've been doing this. As part of the planning on our feet, we've been looking to integrate stormwater management into parks. Through these planning discussions that we've had, we've identified an opportunity to incorporate stormwater storage into the city's Thomas McGovern Park in the Country Village area down in Ward A, and we submitted an application for funding to advance this project. And this was with our consultants' support through the Resilient New Jersey project. So this project would construct stormwater storage beneath the park into design and construction. The project team also submitted 2 funding applications in Bayonne and 1 in Newark. The Newark application was for something called a resilience hub at a school in the Ironbound neighborhood. The proposed resilience hub would include stormwater storage beneath the school's parking lot, solar panels on the school, changes to allow the school to act as a cooling center, and educational programs about these issues at the school. This way, the resilience hub will act both as a place that community members can go during extreme heat and flooding events. It's also helping to directly address flooding and heat, and will help the community increase capacity to withstand flood or heat events. Resilience hubs overall have come out as a key recommendation for this plan, and we'll be talking more about them in our breakouts, how we can take this concept and apply it to Jersey City, and how we can create a regional network of resilience hubs. We've also created a video series on flood risk, which we're aiming to release in May, working with schools and students to include youth feedback in our process. So if you're on this call and you work with an organization or a school in Jersey City and have ideas, please let us know in the chat or during your breakout or after this meeting today. We've also heard feedback about leveraging resident knowledge of flooding and incorporating real-time data on flooding. So each of the cities in the region has been developing a mapping tool where residents can report flood locations in real time as they see them. Ours for Jersey City is being finalized based on some feedback. So once that's live on our website, we'll spread the word on that. Emergency management, emergency preparedness and response is obviously a very important aspect of resilience. So we are engaging with local emergency managers to coordinate on best practices across the region and include those recommendations in the action plan. And like I was saying, we've been responding to feedback. We've heard that obviously flooding is not the only hazard facing this region. There are other hazards like air quality and heat. So our team is studying how these hazards will be affected by climate change, and that will be incorporated into our final action plan as well.
I think with that pause, let's switch translators.
Estarán afectados por el cambio climático y se incorporará a nuestro plan de acción final.
And we're all switched. Thank you.
Awesome. So we wanted to update you on some key updates for Jersey City specifically. I'm going to turn it over to Carolina from Jersey City's Office of Sustainability to provide an update on the Climate and Energy Action Plan that was adopted last year and this year, 22, year of open space.
Thank you, Lindsay. Hi again, everyone. So I want to provide some updates on the 2021 Climate and Energy Action Plan. So first, the city was awarded the New Jersey BPU Community Energy Plan Grant, which will allow for the creation of a targeted community energy component to the plan that will align city energy and climate goals with the 2019 New Jersey Energy Master Plan. This addendum will complement the Resilient New Jersey plan in tackling climate change and increasing energy resiliency through strategic actions that will increase clean energy production, reduce energy use, and reduce GHG emissions. So please keep a lookout for future public engagement and participation opportunities. Next, I invite you to join us this Sunday, April 3rd, from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. for the Year of Open Space McGinley Square pop-up event. So the city, in partnership with the McGinley Square SID, is creating a pop-up event in a part of the city that lacks open space and green space. Taking place at McGinley Square, so on Montgomery Street and Bergen Avenue, we invite you to come out and tell us what you would love to see in public spaces as part of the larger Year of Open Space initiative. There will be music, food, planting, parenting workshop, guided bike tour, and much more. And some background information on the Year of Open Space initiative. So the initiative seeks to optimize existing public spaces for a post-pandemic world and to create more innovative, flexible public spaces in the city to better meet the community's needs. So this year-long effort will be supported by the Offices of Innovation and Sustainability and other departments, and will build on the recently adopted open space element of Jersey City's master plan. This initiative also complements the Resilient New Jersey project because we'll be integrating green infrastructure standards into existing processes. So with that, I'll hand it back to Lindsay. Thank you.
Thanks, Carolina. Like Carolina just referenced, the Year of Open Space is related to the Open Space Master Plan that we recently adopted back in January of this year, which provides comprehensive recommendations for our parks and open spaces. One of the recommendations is to increase green infrastructure and stormwater management in our parks and open spaces. So we've been advocating for that as part of the Year of Open Space. As part of that planning effort, we adopted a new land use element, which provides zoning recommendations for the next 10, 20 years. And that's all available online, and I can drop the link to those final documents in the chat in just a moment. Kevin Force from Hudson County Planning. I don't think he was able to join us at this moment, but the Hudson County Hackensack River Greenway Plan is a vision for the Hackensack Riverfront, increasing public access, creating a continuous walkway, and using that walkway to leverage enhancing resiliency to flooding. And that plan is available on the Hudson County Planning website if you're interested in taking a look. And that's not just Jersey City specific, it looks at the River Greenway along the entire county. Excuse me. And I'm going to turn it over to Rich Haydes from JCMUA, who's going to provide an update on the long-term control plan.
Yes, currently, as you drive through Jersey City, you'll see a lot of the roads being dug up. We are currently complying with our mandated EPA consent decree, which requires Jersey City to upgrade the failing sewers throughout the city. Part of that plan, we are also incorporating the NJDEP long-term control plan by installing separate storm sewers, performing sewer separation in the areas that we can. We're building stormwater pump stations around the perimeter of Jersey City on the Hudson and the Hackensack. Some of our projects, we're going to be implementing green infrastructure to address the flooding areas. Currently, we have several projects that's going to be underway, installing storm sewers up on New York Avenue, Nelson Avenue, Country Village, Princeton Avenue, Wayne Street, to control infiltration, and we are lining a lot of sewers. We're cleaning a lot, so the city / the MUA is spending within the next 10 years probably about $1 billion to address failing sewers and to prevent as much flooding that we can, as we've seen with the last two hurricanes, Hurricane Ida and Hurricane Henry.
Great, thank you so much for that update. And we can delve deeper into how the long-term control plan is being integrated when we go to our breakouts. So, sorry, I skipped ahead. So what is our vision for the future? These are some of the things, these lenses you see on the slide, these are some of the things we heard about through our visioning process about what the region could look like in the future. And these have been used to guide our development of solutions for flooding. So if something isn't directly related to flooding, we're at least making sure that our recommendations wouldn't preclude or prevent this vision from being realized. So these are solutions that fall under environmental, economic, social, physical, and government. So flooding impacts in Northeastern New Jersey today. We experience flooding from heavy rainfall, coastal storms, and tidal flooding, and they can certainly happen together. Flooding also comes from our combined sewer system overflows. 4 major rainfall flooding events occurred last summer alone. And as we all know, Hurricane Sandy severely impacted this region. And as time goes on, we'll see more frequent flooding from sunny day high tides. There are also parts of our community relying on lift stations to transport their sewage. And when the power goes out, even without a storm, their basements flood. So talk a little bit more about our flood modeling. So as part of this Resilient New Jersey program, the state has developed new regional models for current and future flooding. These models are a bit different from what you might see on FEMA flood maps. What you're looking at right now is a model that projects the current and future, think the year 2070, 1% annual chance rainfall event. A 1% annual chance event is an event that has a 1 in 100 chance of occurring in any given year. This is a map of such an amount of rainfall event that might occur over a 24-hour period under current conditions, plus 2.4 feet of sea level rise, and with a 10% increase, like average annual rainfall. So if you look at a typical FEMA flood map, you're not going to see the area like Jersey City Heights, with areas shown in blue. So that's really the main difference here, showing the rainfall events as well. So this map is similar to what was experienced during Hurricane Ida or Irene. We can see that much of the region floods during such an event. So I want to point out 2 things about this map. One is that the light blue is present day with high tide, and the dark blue is 2070 with high tide. And you're not seeing a lot of difference, and there's a reason for that you're not seeing a lot of dark blue. And that's because so much flooding is already occurring under present day, and it's just going to get deeper. Like the depth of the flooded areas will get deeper with more rainfall. Another question we get asked about these models is the extent to which they already consider the existing drainage system, so our sewer system. These are regional level models, so they don't take into consideration the details of the drainage system, but they do make an assumption about what amount of rainfall we could reasonably expect the drainage system to take away. And this next map is showing a map developed by NJDEP, a map of Hurricane Sandy, as it would be expected to occur with 2.4 feet of sea level rise. Basically, this map treats Sandy like a bathtub and adds 2.4 feet to already existing watermarks. And you could see how the extent of what we experienced with Sandy with additional sea level rise would increase. And you could see significant portions of Jersey City and coastal and riverfront areas were impacted by Sandy and could be impacted by a similar scale event in the future with no action. So in the breakouts, we're going to be talking about scenarios. I mentioned this term earlier. And scenarios can have different meanings, but in the context of Resilient New Jersey and our discussions today, we're talking specifically about solution scenarios or groupings of solutions. And I want to clarify that when we talk about scenarios in this case, we're not actually talking about alternatives, one thing over the other. Different scenarios compile on top of one another. What we're doing is framing things in different scenarios to help guide the conversation about the different forks in the road, the different things that might lead us to make decisions about one type of action or another. As part of Resilient New Jersey, we're developing 3 different scenarios, and each scenario includes the full range of different types of actions that we've been talking about. This meeting is presenting the solutions that are grouped into different scenarios, like I mentioned. We have additional technical analyses to complete, and we'll incorporate your feedback and come back with updated solutions at our region-wide community meeting number 5 in the spring. So what could this plan include? The types of solutions we're evaluating: physical and nature-based solutions, recommended changes to policies and governance, outreach, education, and capacity building, service and program development. Our Next region-wide meeting will cover emergency response and preparedness to allow for us to do some more engagement on that topic with emergency management and community. So today we're focusing on solutions in the first 4 categories. So what comes next after today? We're going to be releasing what we're talking about in today's meeting in a report form called the Draft Scenarios Report soon. This will be released alongside our flood impact assessment report with results from our flood risk assessment. We'll be working on advancing technical assessments, cost estimates, and the additional hazards assessments that I mentioned to incorporate findings into the action plan. We're also advancing these efforts I mentioned and working to get students' feedback and develop our video series. And we're going to come back together later this spring for another community, region-wide community meeting around the time of the release of that draft action plan for further feedback. So I'm going to take a couple minutes for questions before we move into breakouts. If anyone has a question, you can feel free to raise your hand, or I'm not sure if there was anything in the chat so far. Doesn't look like it. So if anyone has any questions so far before we go into breakouts, feel free to raise your hand.
And I'll just pull up the breakouts so people can see which, decide where they want to go.
Yeah, that's where we're going to take a deeper dive into the scenarios and the different solutions that fall under each scenario. So like I said earlier, one breakout is going to be focused on part of the city closer to the Hackensack or West Jersey City. And the other breakout is going to focus on areas in the city closer to the Hudson River.
Just to add, you'll be able to move yourself into a breakout room. Once we open them, you should get a pop-up, and then you can, as shown on the screen, click join to enter. And to decide what room you should be in if you're not quite sure if you're closer to the Hackensack or the Hudson. If you live in downtown, Communipaw, Bergen, Lafayette, or Greenville, you should stay in the Hudson room, which will be the main room, so you don't actually need to do anything. But if you live in Western Jersey City, basically west of Bergen Avenue, so in Country Village, Society Hill, West Side, or Jersey City Heights, Journal Square, you will move into the other breakout. And if you need help being moved, you can chat me. I'm Resilient NJ, and we can help get you moved. So with that, I think I'll start the rooms. And the facilitators will be moved to their respective rooms.